Friends, we made it a year. Mayor Durkan, Mayor Durkan, you and your office made it a year. Even bigger applause for that. It has been all of our great honor and privilege to serve on the first ever City Small Business Council. It has been quite a year for all of us here. I feel like we have made incredible strides in the last year. This council, Mayor Durkan, you and your office, the tireless efforts that you have given the city, you have given this council, has been fantastic. Again, congratulations to your office. They have been incredible supporters of this council, and we look forward to working together in the years and months ahead. It is incredibly comforting as a resident of Seattle and as a business owner in the city to know that not only as small business owners that you really have our best interests at heart, but also all stakeholders of Seattle, which is incredibly important, that all stakeholders in this great city have a voice and they have someone that listens to them. So thank you on behalf of this council and on behalf of all residents of Seattle. Thank you. Congratulations on your first year.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, Kamala, thank you so much. And this place and Marination Station, two of my favorites. Some people said that I formed the Small Business Advisory Council solely because it's my favorite shops, places I like to eat, places I like to eat some more, books I like to read. But I want to thank everyone for being here today, and I really want to thank not just the co-chairs of my Small Business Advisory Council, but all the members and all the small businesses that they represent. Many people in Seattle don't realize that our small businesses are our greatest employer. They employ almost 4 times as many people as Amazon. And yet it's the part of our economy that sometimes is the most fragile. It's been a year since I was sworn in as mayor, and one of my first acts was to create the Small Business Advisory Council. I just want to thank you all for being here. To celebrate and have cake and food. I also, though, want to thank you for what you do day in, day out for our city. Our small businesses are not just the backbone of our economy, they really are the heart of our neighborhoods and communities. Everybody has that favorite spot they like to walk to, whether it's their shop, the restaurant, the bookstore. So it was, for me, recognizing that and making sure we did all we could to make our small businesses vibrant and healthy and to make sure that we protected their workers. For years, small businesses have really been without a voice in City Hall. Unlike large businesses, they can't afford to hire a lobbyist or get away from their business during the day to advocate for themselves. But by coming together and thinking very thoughtfully about what we needed to do to protect small business, you have become a force in City Hall. I regularly now have City Council members ask me whether they can talk to the Small Business Advisory Council before they introduce legislation, because they've seen not just what a force they are in City Hall, but how their voice makes legislation better. Because they're not just speaking for the many small businesses in our community, they're speaking for those workers that work in our small businesses, which again employ 4 to 5 times as many people as Amazon. So I was really proud to be able to bring the Small Business Advisory Council together. They are already making a difference. In just a minute, I'll be signing an executive order that will do the next phase of implementing what I've heard from the Small Business Advisory Council. What we want is to make sure that when someone wants to open a business, when they dream big, that the city is there as a partner, not as a barrier. And so we are going to be doing a number of things. First, our Office of Economic Development will look at how to connect our small businesses with trained Seattle youth and to adults in upskilling or returning from prisons or jails and retraining programs. We want to be the portal for both reentry, for our youth, and for those people who are looking for new skills. This is going to dovetail very nicely because we are going to be working this year, coming up, on our whole workforce development. How do we make sure that those great opportunities in our city in the future go to the people who are living in Seattle? Second, the Office of Budget will study ways to reduce the impact of taxes, fees, and regulations on our small businesses. They will include in that the looking at having a holiday so that a small business in its first 3 years could be exempted from our B&O tax. We see that small businesses face a whole range of barriers and costs. Everything from fees to put signage on the outside of their buildings, to a tax on their cash register, to a number of other things. We want to make sure we know what all those fees and regulations, what barriers they're creating, and look for ways to reduce them. And particularly for those new startups, we want Seattle to continue to be that city that invents the future, that has that startup that's going to be the next great restaurant, like the one we're in now, or the next great bookstore, like the one Tracy's able to work with. That's what we want, and we want to make sure the city is a full partner in that. Third, we will immediately be reestablishing the City-wide Business Advocacy Team. This will help small businesses navigate city government. We've heard too often that when people go to start a business, it's hard to know what is expected of them, and they have to go from department to department navigating their way from the city. We want to have one-stop shopping for a small business where it can get information on what permits they will need, what the labor standards are, what taxes and licenses and fees, and what kind of support they can expect to get from the city. We know that we can make adjustments to how we do business as city government so that our great businesses will be able to do what they do best, which is have those great businesses in the city of Seattle and employ some of the greatest workforce anywhere. I know what isn't working, and they also tell me what is working. We're looking forward to continuing to work with the Small Business Advisory Council to continue to rejuvenate everything that we do in connection with small business. The last thing that I'll mention that we're doing is we are going to be convening an interdepartmental team in the city for all those departments that touch upon small businesses, whether it is permitting, Office of Labor Standards, Office of Arts and Culture, Seattle Department of Transportation, Seattle Public Utilities. We want to make sure that every one of our departments, when we take actions, we are thinking about what the impact would be on a small business and how can we make it easier for businesses to start and stay in business. Because ultimately, our small businesses provide great jobs to so many people in the city of Seattle. They provide the texture for our neighborhoods and communities. We want to keep the small businesses vibrant. So with that, I'll be signing the executive order. And for those who haven't seen it before, I use multiple pens so you can have them.
Preach letter, really? Are they rainbow?
How about that, right? I could just stop.
Does it come out just right?
Never. But it will, I'm sure.
Why is it taking so long? It's city government.
We're going to have an interdepartmental pen team. All right. She doesn't get a pen.
She does not get a pen. Yeah.
All right, we continue to make progress. And thank you again, everyone.
Thank you.
And I have to give a particular shout out to my co-chairs, to everyone, but the co-chairs of this committee have put in double time work. They have a lot of fun together. They make mischief, but that's how it's supposed to be. So thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
All right. All right, you definitely get one.
This is the last
That's right.
one. Yeah.
This is the last one. Co-chairs, everyone else got a
So effective.
Linda doesn't get one.
Thank you so much.
All right, you guys have fun. Any questions? Matt, can I ask questions about small business first and then?
Yeah, I will ask.
Okay.
Elaborate more on the B&O holiday idea.
Right. The idea is this, is that one of the things that we've seen is getting a small business up and running is particularly challenged at the outset. You're hiring employees, you have your commercial rent, you may not be profitable at first, it takes a while to figure that out. But at the same time, you're providing good jobs, you're providing the things that our city wants. And so if we can give those small startup businesses a break so that in the first 3 years they don't have to pay a B&O tax, we can reduce that barrier on them and encourage everything from small startup incubators to small restaurants. So talking to Small Business Advisory Council and also being out there, I heard universally from businesses saying that would be really helpful to us as a city, that if we could remove that barrier and provide that ability to get people up and started so that you have that trajectory. You know, so many small businesses fail in the first 3 years, and part of that is it takes that period of time to get the business right to become profitable, and we want to help them in that front. Any other questions on small businesses? Eat, drink, shop at your small businesses.
Regarding the move Seattle forward levy, it did not come in with all the promises that were made in 2015. Are you satisfied with what SDOT has presented? And does there need to be more in any case?
Look, here's what we know for the first time is, when I came in, we were facing a whole range of challenges. And one of those on the Move Seattle levy, the previous administration had overpromised to the public what could be delivered with the money that we had. And part of that was because of rising costs of constructing things. It's a very expensive city. And part of it is because people didn't accurately gauge what it would cost to build each of those important infrastructures, whether it's bike paths, pavement, or sidewalks. When we found that out, we made sure that we were honest about it and open to the public, because I fully believe that the people of Seattle have a right to know what their government is spending their money on. And they have a right to know that we're being as efficient and mindful of getting the purposes that we promise. So SDOT met with the oversight committees in each of those areas to say, here's the resources we really have. We want you to help us prioritize what those projects are. So for the first time ever, there is a long-term plan that is based on good estimates and good facts for a period of years to spend this money to do what the people want of Seattle. That doesn't mean there won't have to be changes down the road, because anyone who's been involved in any kind of construction project knows you run into unforeseen consequences. But for the first time ever, we actually have a plan, and it's actually based on reality. So I think SDOT did a good job of working through all the numbers, looking at what we really had in resources, what things would actually cost, and then going back to the people to say, look, you wanted these projects to go forward. We know we need more sidewalks, better transit, more bike lanes. Here's what we have to spend. How do we prioritize it? So we're going to continue to do that in government. We're going to be honest with the people. We're going to be honest about priorities, and we're going to move forward as efficiently as possible.
One follow-up, just the streetcars, the center connectors, streetcars that did.
We are still evaluating. You saw that there was the KPMG report said that we needed to make sure there was a second engineering study that needed to be done. And so the fact that I ask hard questions and that I believe voters deserve to know how much things are really going to cost doesn't mean I'm against a project. It means I believe in transparency. So it is not dead, but I think people have the right to know what it's going to cost. And if I said it the other night, I personally think streetcars are cool. And my kids love them. When I was a kid, I was inspired by that mobility of the future. I also lived in Seattle when we voted down rapid transit at a time when if we'd had it, we wouldn't be catching up so much. So I think we know we need more and better transit, but I think we have to know the real cost that it's going to be to build it and to operate it so that we as a city can evaluate against all the other transportation projects what are our priorities. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you to you guys.